Welcome back to the channel. I got something interesting for you all today. I have Kristen Jenson on the call with me. She is the author of the series of books, Good Pictures, Bad Pictures, and Good Pictures, Bad Pictures Junior. These are bestsellers. They've sold over 150,000 copies in 7 languages worldwide. And Kristen is also the founder of Protect Young Minds, an organization dedicated to helping parents empower their kids with tools to resist and reject pornography, which, I'm 31 years old now, and that certainly wasn't something that I think was available at all when I was a child. And I probably needed to have some of those conversations with my parents. I probably could have benefited from reading your books back then. And I work with clients all the time who tell me stories of their first exposure to pornography being when they were 10, 12, pretty common, but also 5, 6 years old. And so that's why I'm glad to have you on here and that you're providing this resource for people. And I want you to inform my audience about your work and how it can help protect the next generation. So thank you for coming on, Kristen.
Thanks for having me, Noah. It's great to see you again and chat with you again. I appreciate your great work too.
Well, thank you very much. And I want to start just by how did you decide this is a book that needs to be written? And not only that, but I'm the one to write it.
Ever since I was a little girl, I had a dream to write a book about porn for kids. No, I met a woman who called me up and she told me this tragic tale of her 17-year-old son who had been, sexually molesting his younger brothers and sisters and, had to go away, be prosecuted, get in a program. It was devastating to his family with long-term implications. And in fact, one of the brothers that he perpetrated on ended up in jail for years. And so pornography was involved. And I woke up the next morning and I just had this thought that I should look for a resource for her to help her explain the problems of pornography and why it could be, problematic for a young child to be consuming that kind of material. And I couldn't find anything. And I was shocked because I've never had an original idea in my life. And I thought this has got to be a big problem out there. If it's affecting someone I know, it can't be just some small problem. So I know there's books about, stranger danger, whatever, all these other books of body safety, really. And so I don't know. Is it hubris? I don't know that I just had this crazy idea that I could take a few weeks in the summer and write this book. And it turned into 3 years that it took to write the book. And I stopped counting all the iterations that I went through. I tested it on a lot of parents. And then when it got released, it instantly became a #1 bestseller on Amazon and has been for the longest time a bestseller. So yeah, it's just a tool for parents to use to start that process of educating them and helping them build a resistance to pornography.
And this
also
is the original.
That is the second edition, that is the second edition of the original book.
Mm-hmm. And what age range would you say this one is intended for?
Yeah, it's about 7 to 11, I would say. Although I've had therapists use it for adults, like adult clients that are suffering with a porn addiction, just to explain the basics of addiction in a very simple way.
How long was it after you published that one that you realized there was a need for Good Pictures, Bad Pictures Junior?
About 3 years. I actually had people coming to me. See, Noah, I'm actually not the brightest candle on the cake. But when people start asking for something, I kind of crowdsource my books. So I get a lot of people to help me. I use a lot of their brains, And so this one came along 3 years later. And it's for 3 to 6-year-olds. And it really explains, again, both books do 3 things. 1, give kids a simple age-appropriate definition of pornography. 2, warn them that it can be dangerous to their brain and harmful. And 3, give them a plan, what to do when they see a bad picture or a harmful picture or, pornography. And when kids are caught off guard, they're like us, right? We don't do so well when we're caught off guard. But when we have a plan, when we've been educated, we have half a chance of being successful, right? Of handling the situation well. So when kids are taught, given a reason for rejecting it and given a plan for how to, what to do when they see it, then they can be very successful.
And I like that you said a plan for when they see a picture like that. It's not a matter of if anymore.
We can't cocoon, right? We cannot cocoon kids. It's just, we can try, we can do our best and we should be responsible and use the parent controls and all those things. But in the end, the only thing that's going to work, the only filter that's going to work is an internal filter. So that's what I believe is educating children with an internal filter. It goes with them because you may feel like you have all of your devices locked up and your Wi-Fi locked up and everything. You may think that. I'm not sure it's actually possible, but you may think that. But with the minute your child leaves the house, they are going to encounter situations where they could easily see pornography.
And could you give us an example of maybe a harmful way of having that conversation with a child, or a way that is not likely to yield good benefits for that child later on?
Of having a conversation about pornography?
Yeah. Can you, I want to first take a look at what's the way not to do it.
Not to do it, and the way to, oh my gosh, I don't know that I've focused on that, Noah, about how not to do it. I will say that if you find out that your child has seen porn, to react with a lot of drama and freak out, that's not going to be good because when you get emotional with your child, they don't want that. They are going to back off and maybe be more secretive in the future. Another way you don't want to do it is to kind of demonize anyone that gets pulled into porn. Like, people who use porn are horrible scumbags, and you don't want to be a horrible scumbag, so don't look at porn. That's not the way to do it. And I've never approached it that way. I approach it as, here's something that's very addictive that teaches toxic messages about sex. And it's something we need to teach our children to avoid so that they don't get addicted to it and that they also aren't influenced negatively by the negative messages of pornography. So I tend to lean in the mode of science, although I have my own spiritual reasons for, avoiding pornography, because I think it does a lot of damage to relationships. But the other thing is, again, to kind of go about it calmly and not in a shame-based way.
That's the answer I was digging for.
Okay, yay, ding, 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 ding.
That's much the reaction I think that I got when I was discovered as a kid. There was a lot of anger and maybe disappointment on my parents' side, and so a lot of shame that I felt internally. And it didn't necessarily make me stop my seeking out of that material, but it did make me want to never talk to them about it again.
Ever. Never. Well, we have a guide on Protect Young Minds. It's called the SMART Plan Guide for Parents. And it's SMART is a acronym that stands for, what you should do when you find out that your child has looked at pornography or sought it out, been exposed. And the first step is stay calm. Deal with your own emotions first, because you're going to have fear and anger, disappointment, whatever. And you can take 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever, a week to calm down and make a plan, which M is make a plan. You need to be able to get this information from your child drip, 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 not like in a big waterfall, because generally kids will give you a little information, see how you react, then maybe they'll open up a little bit more, you know. But like in your situation, when there's this, if you are dumping all of your emotion onto your child, I promise you, um, it will
They'll shut
not
down.
be, yeah, they'll shut down. And we have an article though, if you have done this, we have an article on Protective Minds about, I yelled at my kid, 5 ways to heal this situation. So, there is redemption, but you need to do some work to overcome that. And so anyway, that is a free guide, the Smart Plan guide that you can get free at protectyourminds.org. Just go to the resources tab or the help and heal tab.
And is this a one and done conversation usually?
Oh
Or
yeah, just one. You can check it off, never have to worry about it again. No, obviously this is a mode of you want to create a disposition in your children. You can't just teach and it's the same with anything you're teaching your child that's important. You never just have one conversation and then leave it, right? You're going to have multiple conversations and they're going to change as the child gets older. So you're going to give them more and more information as they get older. So yeah, that's really important that you don't. And I guess, reading Good Pictures, Bad Pictures is really a great opening to a conversation. It makes it easy to start that conversation, but it's only the beginning. And there are opportunities for discussion questions after each chapter of the book for the older children. So those are really good to do. We also have a new curriculum called Brain Defense Digital Safety, and it is fun, fun, fun. It's made for kids like ages 9 to 12, 4th through 6th grades. And it's funny. And it's not just me. It's not me. Okay, that's one good thing about it. It's not me going wah 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 wah, right? It's actually a group of teens that are teaching the material to their younger peers. And we got a comedy writer to write the scripts who's like a Emmy Award nominated, wrote a Super Bowl commercial, that kind of level. He wrote the script and it's fun. So Brain Defense Digital Safety, if you go to Protective Minds, look curriculum, you'll find out all about that, brand new, and kids love it.
is
And
that
parents
something that kids take online on the computer?
Yeah. Yep. You basically purchase it and you get access to all the videos. There are 11 videos and then 10 follow-up videos. There's a workbook called the Brain Book. And like I said, kids love it. There are jokes in it, all appropriate. Okay. All appropriate. No bad pictures, no bad jokes. But it appeals to that age and it's very memorable.
So the conversation can start here,
yeah.
but
Yep.
And what's your website again, just so people know?
Protectyoungminds.org.
Sounds like
and
you have
if
a
you
lot
go
more resources
to,
there.
Yep, lots more resources. And again, Brain Defense is our brand new curriculum. It's a game changer, I believe. There's nothing out there like it right now. So yeah, check it out.
Many of my audience probably already is very familiar with the concept of being addicted to pornography use or how it can get in the way of connecting in real intimate partnerships and relationships. But what are some of the dangers of pornography that they might not be aware of?
Yeah, well, I'll go back to my opening story about the mom whose son had started acting out on his younger brothers and sisters. Children's brains are imitative. They are wired to imitate what they see. And anyone who's a parent absolutely knows this is true when they've seen their kids say things, do things, and they're just totally parroting, what you're saying. It's a little scary sometimes. But they're imitative. And so when they see this material, it's not their fault that they just are kind of wired to, hey, try it out. And who are they going to try it out on? It's going to be other kids that they have access to, maybe siblings, maybe cousins, maybe their neighborhood friends. Often it's a younger child. We had a mom, she contacted us and said that she was watching a 10-year-old boy during the summer. His mom was a single mom and she had to work. And so she was watching this 10-year-old along with her children. And there was no problem for the first month. And then this 10-year-old took her 7-year-old daughter into the bathroom and tried to basically do sex acts with the 7-year-old. And luckily, she'd been open with this 7-year-old, and the 7-year-old knew that her mother was safe to talk to and told her what happened. So this girl's mother called up the boy's mother, and the boy's mother broke down in tears and said, 3 weeks ago, I found porn of every kind on on the iPad. And so he had watched this stuff, and we don't know how long he had been watching it, but at least 3 weeks. And then he had felt like, he wanted to try it out, and which is totally normal. The rates of child on child harmful sexual behavior is skyrocketing. It is a huge problem. The military, on military bases, they're seeking help. Protect Young Minds helped to co-sponsor a symposium a few years ago at the National Center on Sexual Exploitation back in Washington, D.C., on this very problem of child on child harmful sexual behavior. It is fueled by pornography. And you might feel bad if your kid gets addicted to porn, which is really, really hard. But I'm telling you, you're going to feel worse and be in a whole heck of a lot more of a difficult situation if your child is perpetrating on another child. Depending on which state you live in, the laws are different. We are addressing this issue on Protect Young Minds. We've written several articles about this. I guess I would think this is like the number one issue. When you teach your child about pornography and to reject it and come and tell you when they've seen it, you are arming them against not only being sexually exploited themselves, but becoming, someone that perpetrates on another child.
Well, I think it's really incredible that you and your team have made these resources available, because many people out there, probably their own parents, didn't know how to talk to them about sex, much less pornography. And so they probably don't know how to do it with their own children. And to have a resource like this to help facilitate that, I think is really valuable.
Yeah.
But,
and I'll just say, Noah, that the books can be read to children without having the sex talk. However, I do encourage parents to start those conversations at a very early age and just kind of, gradually add more and more information, because kids are turning to pornography for, sex ed, and it's not ideal, obviously.
Yes. And I have a question about, and I don't know how personally involved you are in this, but if there's been progress either here in the States or around the world in introducing more of this, like porn literacy and porn education, to children in that school system rather than just in the family unit?
Well, I know there are several people that are trying to get it into schools in a little bit of a backdoor way. I know there are people that go and speak to schools. I have found that private schools have a little more interest in this. Public schools, I think it's a little more difficult, but there is going to come a time when, just like with cigarettes, there is going to come a time when people realize that children need some literacy around this problem. And so I know, around the world, I know there's the Youth Wellbeing Project in Australia. There's other, people trying to get parents educated. And of course, we've developed Brain Defense. And Brain Defense is secular. It's not religious based, but we do have faith-based supplements that, can be used by faith-based institutions or schools. So if you build it, they will come. That kind of a thing is what we're, hoping for, that people become enlightened about the harms of porn, especially on children who have not yet developed their own sexual template. And to have it hijacked by pornography is really harmful to their future. We want our kids to have a great sex life, right? When they get older, we want that for them. And we may not ever verbalize it quite like that, but we do really in
Sure.
our heart of hearts. We want our children to have a wonderful, I personally want my children to have a wonderful relationship and a wonderful sexual life with someone that they love and trust. And it's not, sex isn't a performance, it's a relationship, it's affection. And so as far as schools go, we have had interest. We know that we've heard through the National Center on Sexual Exploitation that there are schools that are always asking them. And so now we have this product that we just came out with, and we are excited to get it out there and for schools of all kinds to benefit, because they all have a duty of care. They use technology. We just got a letter about how one school district is now putting YouTube on every device.
Yeah.
That's a little problematic for kids because YouTube is not shown that they're, completely safe for children. So anyway, there's problems, and schools have a duty of care to provide, this kinds of education so that children know how to use the internet safely.
And my guess is that there are a lot of parents out there who probably right now are searching the internet because they've just discovered, browsing history that disturbs them on their children's devices.
Absolutely.
And my hope is that they find resources like yours. But my greater hope is that parents will start having these conversations before that crisis moment when they realize, oh crap, it might be, a little bit later than I should have left it for this conversation. And more, I think there are people who have struggled personally with pornography problems, maybe recovered, and maybe now they want to share that information with their loved ones, or like they have a nephew and niece they want to look out for. How do you recommend that people start to share this information, maybe with the parents first, or how should people open that conversation with their loved ones?
That's a great question. I think it would be helpful if they just tell their own story, if they're willing to. If they share their own story. Stories are powerful. And when you come at it from a personal, I have a family member who is living with cancer. When I tell people that, and then I tell them some of the lifestyle changes we've made to, improve our health, they're more willing to listen to me because I have, this experience. So when people have a problem with pornography, they struggle with it, they have credibility when they go to someone and they say, look, I don't want this happening to your kids. And I would do anything, if I could go back in time, but I can't. So, but what I can do is pay it forward. And I just want to let you know about these resources so that, you can protect your own children, because there's a huge naivete gap, Noah, between, and they've done studies on this, between what parents think their children have seen, and even just specifically with pornography, what they think their children have seen and the percentage of kids. I mean, it's like 100% difference, double the amount of kids that have seen this stuff versus what their parents think. So their parents think, oh, maybe, 25%, and
it's
it's really
unavoidable
like
to see
60%. Yeah.
to see some of the more extreme and
I
perhaps
know.
shocking content.
It's
And
so
it could be
easy.
even more difficult to find content that is like, oh, a loving couple, like lovingly having intimate sexual experience than some of the more extreme
Yeah.
sex acts. And yeah, certainly on any of the most popular streaming websites on the front page, your child would see pretty much anything and everything that you probably would not want them to see,
Yep.
especially without being prepared for it.
Yeah. So I think if you want to talk to somebody, a family member, whatever, share your own, if you can, share your own personal experience. If not, you could share an article, or uh, where you see this happening. There's articles in all kinds of articles out there. I know you have published, and just say, hey, I read this the other day. It's really concerning, but there's something we can do about it. We can be empowered, and we can empower our children.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with my audience that perhaps we haven't talked about yet?
Well, I would just like to share that no child deserves to face the porn industry alone. So we need to help them. And I and my team at Protect Young Minds, we have provided not only things that you can purchase, but also free guides on our website. So we are trying to meet the needs of everybody, and just provide lots of resources to help parents arm their children, so that they don't end up having a lifelong problem with pornography. So they have a chance, they know. And, kids, they deserve this, and they like to be told the truth, and they like to be empowered, so that they can, have more control over their lives and their brains, their bodies, and their environment. So
yeah, I think that's a great note to end on, because that's, I think, really what I needed, and what most children really crave is just the facts. They want to be empowered. They want to know what's really going on. And I think if most children knew of the potential harms of pursuing pornography, it might not stop them completely from, out of curiosity, seeing what's out there, but I think it would prevent a lot of them from going down that problematic path and really suffering for it in the long run.
Absolutely.
So protectyoungminds.org, and good pictures, bad pictures. All right. Thank you, Kristen.
Thanks, Noah.